Meteorology. I used to be meteorology. Millersville University. A lot of our teachers come from
Good
there.
afternoon. I would like to call this budget workshop of the Louisa County Board of Supervisors to order. Today, we'll have a discussion on the fiscal year 2026 operation and maintenance and capital improvement budget plan. And our first speaker today is Kim Highland from the Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation. It is. Welcome back.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you all here. Yeah, okay. Oh, thanks, good. Oh, good, yeah. Definitely.
Tommy went
The
home
big
to get some
screens aren't
papers.
on,
He'll
though,
be here back by
Scott.
5.
I don't know if you knew.
That's fact, yes.
So Kim is looking for the big screens to be on?
Oh, sorry.
I thought maybe it was in this.
And you got it in front of you too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. He's our wizard.
Yes. he is.
Tommy Bell, pretty good.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me back again.
Use the mic, that way we can hear you.
I always forget. Appreciate you guys having us back, and I brought Jeff along. Our
You think that helps?
I'm making an excuse right now. Jeff being our chair now for the Housing Foundation, so it's nice to have a Louisa County, rotate the chair position to a Louisa County resident. It's been a Fluvanna County resident for quite some time. So he certainly has best interests of our community here. Very briefly, you know, we only have 5 staff. And we have 6 members of Louisa County who serve on our board. And as supervisors, Rachel normally comes to our meetings, but anybody is welcome to come to any of our board meetings if you really want to see some of the inner workings of the Housing Foundation. And you have an open Thursday, so the next one is April 10th. We're always glad to see you. This is our list of volunteers as it currently stands. When I came on board, I don't know if we had any volunteers. We had a couple who were helping out on a couple of things, but we have really amped up the number of people volunteering with the organization. So some of these people are hammer and nails. A lot of them are different, answering phones, doing paperwork for the foundation, helping us with grant proposals. Tim Hodge is now doing our IT, so we have an accountant who helps us out. And just as a brief refresher for everybody, we have 5 programs: home repair, rental properties, and just as an aside on the rental properties, we just moved a county worker into one of our rental properties, and we're hoping to make her a homeowner for that home. Financial education and first-time home buyers, construction and ramps. Brief overview. My favorite program by far of what we do is essential home repair. It has the broadest reach for the county. We did 100 repairs last year. Roof, HVAC, a ton of other major repairs, well, septic, water heater, electric. We're starting to do bath modifications so that the elderly can stay in their homes and take a bathtub and make it a shower. We found some funding for that helps. So that's been a big asset for people, and plumbing, of course. We stayed at about the $400,000 mark. Again, this year, I'm anticipating, again, we'll hit at least $400,000 in repairs, perhaps higher, kind of depending on when projects wrap up. So until I cut a check, it's not a completed project. This has been the rate of growth for our grants. So we hit just a tiny bit higher from last year, $283,000 in grants that went straight to our residents. Next to that is the HPG program, which has been a significant funder for home repairs. So I wanted to go a little bit further back in that one. This year, we did our residents received $115,000 of HPG funds. The bad news on that, the funding went down significantly for that particular grant this year. So this is money received by TJPDC and applied for on our behalf, and they distribute the funds to us as we do projects. It was about $180,000, I think, and we got $115,000 of that. This year, the total available is 111,000. So we do take the lion's share, but that's even less than what we received, that we actually got for the counties last year. So this was the reason for me asking for the $50,000 of program funds. There have been a couple of other smaller grants that also have been reduced, like BAMA, Twice as Nice, Louisa County Community Fund. These are ones that we draw on for our residents, and they receive funding directly from those grants for their home repairs. So there's about a $65,000 deficit in grant funding this year. So this was the reason for it. I'm trying to diversify the different areas that we can utilize to help lower the cost, particularly for our elderly residents to stay in their homes. So I figured if you guys are interested in providing program funds, that could go directly into program funds, and that was the purpose of the $50,000 ask. While I was doing that simultaneously, I also applied for the third time, Joe Griffith, who's not here, has been great at it, to the Older Adult Home Modification Program that is sponsored by HUD. We won that one this year. So that is $1 million of home repairs. Obviously only to older adults, so that doesn't help our younger residents out, but that frees up some money for the younger residents, people with families, helps them out a bit. So that, we were very thankful for that, because the HPG funds have already run out for this year. So for the rest of this fiscal year, the federal fiscal year until September 30th, there are no HPG funds. So we'll see how quickly HUD gets OAHMP up running. HUD is a lot of fun to deal with. So we're getting it set up right now. We had to get in a bunch of paperwork by Friday, February 28th. So that is all in. But it is very limited in administrative funding. So if we don't have administrative funding to have people go out to houses and actually dole out these funds, make sure we certify the projects, we may have to forego utilizing this grant. So that would be worst case scenario. By county, we did 48 projects in Louisa, a lower number of projects, but an overall higher number in dollar repairs, so more significant repairs. So there were 48 projects in Louisa, 213,000. Grants were 163,000 that were received by residents. We provided $40,000 for loans, and we have instituted a down payment program for all residents to at least get them used to paying in. I think that has really increased our repayal rate, is to have them initiate a payment. No projects can begin until they make a down payment. So this is a little bit more proportional to the population. It used to be Fluvanna was only getting about 20-25%. I don't know why they weren't servicing that county as much, but it's a little more even now. Fluvanna, I think, is a little more caught up. They were a little further behind. Each grant application has its own unique set of application instructions, so a whole process that it needs to go through. So I'm going to show you real quickly. This is an example of the HPG funds. This is just one of our grant funds, the process that we have to go through for each and every application. So every single resident of those 48 residents in Louisa County that received HPG funds. Glad to walk you through all of this. Only the portion, the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see two slides, the very bottom corner slide and the second to bottom slide. That's where the actual construction is. So that's where we can actually say, go ahead, start on the project, and then we get the work completed. So we have to go through an environmental review, an ERR, and then a DHR, Department of Historic Review. That can take up to 30 days. So we have to have a site visit before and after. The application process is quite lengthy. This is our easy one. This one we have down pat. We can get people through about 6 weeks. The swap one for the septic and well assistance is 3 of these, and most of it is wrong. So we had to redo it for Virginia Department of Health. And with our help, they were able to actually administer it. Did I do that?
Good chance, no. We lost the screens.
I don't think I did. There it is. You just get up, Scott, and it works again.
Scared of
I've
Scott.
I've always wondered what this button does right here that I just pushed.
I like this TV now.
Do you have a screen on your side?
It's just blank. It's very blank. Very, very blank.
It said power went off to this monitor. Maybe that's the.
I didn't hit the power button, I know that.
It's flashing green at the bottom.
Scott, you want me to reboot the whole thing over here?
No, I think it's the TV.
Back.
There
There it is.
There you go.
We're blue now.
Excellent. Scott
Blue's
always
good.
fixes
Flashing
it.
green's bad. Now we
Yay,
know.
Scott.
Scared of Scott.
Any questions on that? About the progress we have to make in order to get an application completed? I know it looks like fun. And just sort of an overview, the Housing Foundation started out in the 80s. We had about half the population we have now. So we are serving a significantly larger number of people. We have an increased number of calls that are coming in. And I think what we are able to do is more than ever, we're receiving more calls, we're also answering them, we're getting back to people, but we can't satisfy all the different types of repairs. So there is still a great need that's out there, but I think we have found our niche, and we're really able to hit that, and we're able to, I feel like every call that comes in within those niche repairs that we want to make are completed. So long as the resident, make sure they get us their information, they bring in everything on their end, it's gone very, very smoothly. And things like Mr. Barnes mentioned that, can you explain to them a little bit better on your website that it's not all grants, that part of it is loans, right? We had a conversation, I'm like, I don't know how to do it anymore clearly, and I sent you the screenshot of it, and it says very, very clearly, we do partially grants, partially loans typically, so that people do partly fund their own repair. I think that empowers people. It makes them responsible for their own repair, but it greatly lowers the cost to make it much more affordable. So just getting people to understand, it's a lot of information that we give them. So making sure that they understand it, it's always helpful when you guys understand that as well, and you have residents who ask you for help, and you know why it's not 100% grants, and that you're knowledgeable in that. Our real estate taxes back in 1989 were not quite what they are today. They have gone up significantly. Many of our residents who live in our rental units would qualify if they were the homeowner for a tax abatement. So if that's something that you all would consider, that would be very
That's
helpful.
what you need to do. That's your answer.
All right, we'll come back to that.
That's the answer. That's a differentiating factor.
The return on investment, I really think this is important for everyone to really understand how hard the Housing Foundation is working to get grant funding for our residents and to serve Louisa County residents, keep them in their homes. So we were able to obtain a $300,000 septic and well grant. That one's going very, very well. It is a little complicated. It took a long time to get stood up, but definitely very well received by the community members. Very costly repairs are being accomplished. It has taken a long time. It is very, very tedious. But again, we have 2 grant writers that have been fantastic, who are volunteers. Couldn't have done it without them. So we're trying to do this as low cost as possible. We were able to obtain $220,000 from TJPDC towards the construction project. Just last year, that $283,000 that I listed for repairs is made up of HPG funds, in-kind donations, volunteer labor, and other grant sources. We provide almost $1.8 million in loan servicing. We just received this $1 million OAHMP, Older Adult Home Modification Program, which I hope we will be able to administer. We distribute the home funds, which you had asked me about before, Mr. Woodward. Those are received annually to us through the county. I'm always looking for new ways to bring housing and resources to the community. So this $2.1 million in Spark funds is through Virginia Housing and buys down the interest rate for first-time home buyers who are at or below 100% AMI by 1 percentage point. So it helps them.
Remind me what the AMI is. No,
It depends on how many people are in the household, but it's
What's an average here?
it's like 95,000 for 4 people.
Thanks.
Yep, currently. And we're able to obtain a lot of different, we go to Louisa County Community Fund, BAMA, we're always going to the banks, going to the power companies, and trying to bring in different funding sources to help lower the costs for the community. So which of these go away if we're not able to distribute these funds? And you have to, these are not funds that a community member can apply to directly. We're a CHODO, we're also a housing authority, so we play a role in getting these funds accountably distributed. All of them go away. So I think that's a pretty significant impact. And just to help you guys understand the return on investment that is received by the county residents. We have a very robust group of volunteers now working with us, 2 grant writers. We just got a new work trailer, which we obtained a grant for that, to be able to increase our volunteer opportunities. They've been very busy. We absorbed a lot of our Louisa Habitat folks who kind of crossed over, and they're still able to work in the community on housing issues that are very important to them. But they have really been critical and been fully on board with making sure we have more opportunities to serve our community. They have been a phenomenal, Jeff stepped up his chair when we really needed him. He has a lot of experience in providing affordable housing, so everybody is chipping in to really push us to a whole nother level. Many of our repairs do require a licensed contractor though, so we can't go completely to a volunteer group providing all of the repairs. We have HVACs, right? We have wells, so these all require licensed contractors. We do rely now on in-kind donations, so we have HVAC companies donating HVAC units, and we pay for their labor. So it's been very much a shared responsibility. We had somebody put it in an alternative septic system and take $10,000 off of the price for the resident, and that was in Louisa County. So I mean, it's been very directly received. For the construction project, the upcoming grants that we are pursuing are workforce development. We're looking at $1.26 million for that. That would cover all 9 of the workforce units that we want to put in on the Resource Lane project. So there are 9 2-bedroom units slated to go in there, cover county employees, emergency personnel. It would be partial grant, partial loan. So $40,000 per unit would be granted, and the $100,000 would be borrowed by the Housing Foundation. Also, and we had a brief conversation about this. This would allow us to go up to 120% AMI. And what that does is give us some flexibility. If you had a teacher and a firefighter both working, they might be over our threshold, but 120% AMI should keep them within our
You
threshold.
should not marry firefighters.
ASNH stands for Affordable and Special Needs Housing, so there's several opportunities that we're going to be pursuing there. So again, another return on investment for the county, where we're bringing funding here and not relying on the county to fund these projects. What is causing all of these costs to be increased? We have a lot of rising costs, just staff. We didn't have, when we were in the county building, we didn't have phone, internet, utilities, rent, website, some of these other issues. Some of these were needed. We needed our own separate website, I think, to really get the word out to people and be a resource. We get a lot of requests in now through the website. And we are able to lower our costs now that we have Tim Hodge running it for us, so that's been very helpful. We've added staff to meet the demand so that we can return all of the calls that are received. And there's just been an increase in demand from, ever since COVID, it just has not let up. The funding has been stagnant, so we were at the same level and it actually dropped for a number of years. And so it was about the same for 25, 30 years, Wanda, as far back as we could find.
I didn't bring it with me. But
Yeah,
the
it was
same for a while.
as far back as you could find, yeah. We have increased the number of funding sources, so we are able to service more applications, so that's a lot of paperwork for our staff. But we've also lost some funding sources. So it's, a natural, I think, migration of different opportunities and sort of a growth of the foundation. Of course, our real estate taxes are up. Insurance is through the roof, as it is for everybody. Our accounting audits are increasing. We have to have, by law, an accounting audit every year. Increasing our staff time. Complicated funding requirements have increased the bureaucracy. We have to do things like lead hazard reviews, radon compliance, but we have been here for over 35 years as a reliable assistance to the community. When I came on, and I know some of you may not know, I sort of inherited an aging foundation which had done a lot of work in the area, but hadn't really been renovated in a long time. So we completely revamped all of the policies and procedures so that we made sure that we are serving the people we intend to serve in the community and that we're allowing them equal access to our programming. They have an opportunity. And a lot of little things. Court recording fees were paid by the Housing Foundation instead of by the resident. So those are now costs that the resident who needs it pays themselves. We didn't have down payments, so that has significantly helped. We get enough down payments every year that it funds a whole month of repairs. So that helps us to stretch our cash a little bit. We get all the paperwork done in advance, so believe it or not, we didn't get all of the paperwork done, the promissory notes, deeds of trust all signed, so it was confusing to residents. They believed it was just a grant and it was free. They were trying to help people in their defense. They were trying to help people as quickly as possible. They had an emergency, they had a serious need, and they were just trying to get them help. But I find that it bites us every time when we jump through hoops and we don't go through the proper channels for our processes. And as we requested proof of income from every single person, we found out that almost everyone qualifies for our programs. So I think it was a higher percentage than they realized. We sold houses. We have 3 more pending, so that's really helped to assist in our cash flow. We're tracking the financial viability of our programs much better. They weren't sure. Howard had a lot in his head that he understood what was going on. And it turns out he was right, that they were self-sustaining, thank goodness. But if we can't measure it, we can't really, regulate it very well, right? So we need to be measuring it and making sure that all of our programs are not just self-sustaining, but they're robust and they're doing what they need to do for the community. We've increased our loan repayment rate. There are consequences now for failure to pay. We threatened to bring a couple people to court, and they did comply. We haven't had to go to court on anybody yet, but there have been instances. We have pursued donations. Our RAMP program is all volunteer, so I don't know how many people know Tom Payne down in Fluvanna. He's covered both counties for the past 2 or 3 years and putting all the ramps up in both Louisa and Fluvanna. You've met Mr. Payne. He is a dynamo, but he is 83, so we need to find some more volunteers in Louisa County to help with constructing ramps here. Our volunteers are also painting our units. We're utilizing them more to bring down our costs. We're tightening the requirements for our tenants. I did bring a sheet in with me. I created a new addendum to our leases, which is 2 pages long, that all of our tenants need to comply with. They need to initial each of these. There's a variety of different conditions in here. Some are things as simple as we don't allow smoking on our properties anymore. because it's a cost to us. And it's also a cost to the residents. So I want to make sure we're serving people who are really intent on improving their situation. And I personally don't like the idea of lowering somebody's rent in order for them to be able to afford to pay for cigarettes. So it's a health issue. It's something that should be more sustainable, and it damages our property. So it decreases our values. We've upgraded our loan system, which it was like a giant Excel spreadsheet. So it's something that needed to be done. We have customer relationship management software, and we're continuing to pursue new grants all the time for Louisa County. What are the consequences of a lack of funding for us? We are going to have to reduce our staff or reduce hours. Probably I will be the first one because the rest of my staff has more of a dire need for their job every day. And I'm glad to do so if I need to retire. I'll have some time on my farm. We may lose the older adult home modification program. We'll have some delays in construction, and it's just going to be an increase in blight and lack of services for county residents, which are going to burden the county government in turn. Services and healthcare demands could increase. We do some things like mold remediation for people, so those are serious health concerns. Possibly a rise in homelessness because we do keep people in their homes and prevent them from becoming homeless. So I think that is a really significant factor that is not well measured because they didn't become homeless, so we can't measure that. But a lot of these homes, they certainly would become homeless if they did not receive a new roof or other seriously needed repairs. And we're just trying to create the best long-term viability for the Housing Foundation. We want to be robust so that we can continue to serve the residents of Louisa County. And if we start cannibalizing our assets, it's going to hurt the county residents in the long term. And we want, this is my last one, so yay. I want to show you guys that we are aligned with all of you. We are at the center of this. So we believe in efficiency, making sure we improve our costs. We're providing gaps in services that the county cannot provide, or we can provide it at a lower cost. We want housing preservation. We want to preserve rural character for the county. If there are things that you guys think we should be doing to serve the residents, we are here to serve Louisa County. We are working together with all of you. So each of you has a unique district. You have different needs. If you think of things that your residents need, let's talk about that and how we can serve. We talked about what can we do to create affordable housing and assist, and what can we not do, and what should we not do. So there's a lot of different options. I've been talking to a lot of different people about rental housing, which has been enormously successful for us, being turned into home ownership. So taking the person who is renting the house and making them the owner of the unit they are renting. And we have programs for that. We've successfully turned a number of our rental units into home ownerships. They're still there. Every single one of them has been successful, and we have several more in the pipeline. I'd like to do more of that throughout the county. So as we explore options, I think that's a great one on the table to increase home ownership. I really appreciate the support you guys have given through the time that I have been here. It's been really an amazing experience, and I've really enjoyed serving Louisa County, so I'm looking forward to what else we can do. Glad to take any questions.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Kim, and you possibly said, and I may have missed it, the $1 million grant, the OAHMP grant,
Yes.
is there a time frame to use that money?
It'll be 3 years.
3 years.
Yes, but I anticipate we will use it faster.
Oh.
Yes. Part of the difficulty with that one is it does have $100,000 of administrative overhead, but we need a program manager and we need an occupational therapist. It's a requirement of the HUD funding, which I think is not necessarily necessary, but it is required, both before visit and after visit. It could cover things from grab bars to lighting in the rear of the house to a new roof. So it will be a very broad program. We also have to get our our staff, CAPS certified aging in place specialist, which I'm hoping will be of benefit and won't be just, a piece of paper. I hope that will actually assist our residents.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. Kim, Jeff Martin is one of the standard setters of the Cuckoo District. I have no doubt that he will take the Fluvanna Louisa Housing Foundation to a new level with you. So I want to give him a complete vote of support for what he's doing with you guys, and that's great news. My question to you is, 165K or 50K? What do you need more?
You
You got one for the home repairs, and you got one for,
So the 50K, so the 50K was for actual program costs. So if we get the 165K, we're able to administer the older adult home modification program for $1 million. And the 50K can always be used, but it certainly is less critical. The 165 is what we really need for administrative, because there just aren't other places
Okay.
to apply for administrative funds.
all right, may I follow up?
Yes,
sir.
So, do you have, I think I heard this, some type of program that would take folks out of dilapidated homes? Homes that maybe, I don't know whether you're seeing the home every single year in your job flow, but do you have any way of taking them from that home, putting them into another option, buying that home, renovating it, and then perhaps selling it so that that family can get that money and generationally move it into another asset? Or have you all buy it and then have that as a generating of a revenue?
So what I would like to do, so that's a really good question, and I don't say that lightly. I don't normally say that. Yes, so the short answer is yes. There are a number of different things we could do. Building the new affordable units will allow us to take people out of dilapidated housing, and that was one of our most severe needs and one of the reasons we created one-bedroom units. There was no place for people to go who are older, who want to stay in the community, they want to downsize, but they don't want to leave Louisa. They've lived here their whole lives. So that's certainly an opportunity there where we can free up lots that have, one of the hardest things for us to do is find land. So there's land, there's utilities already there. There may even be a foundation we could use, right? There's well, there's septic. Some of it may need to be enhanced or improved. But our goal would be to then put families in those units and be able to set them up for home ownership. I would like to do more with, there are some programs through DHCD that Howard Evergreen actually got $500,000 for Louisa County in 2013, and he renovated 10 homes, and Mr. Williams is probably very familiar with all of these. They took very severely damaged homes and rehabbed them for the people. So back then, $500,000 went a lot further. They were able to rehab 10 homes. They have bumped CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant funds, to $1.25 million. So they are working. CDBG working within those parameters is not easy, right, Wanda? So we do have to go through the county. The county has to be the receiver, and they can reimburse us. So it does require quite a bit of staff time, but it is money that could be brought directly into the community. So yeah, there's a number of different ways I think we could handle rehabbing properties that need to be demolished and completely just gutted or knocked down and redone.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Hey, Kim, thank you. Y'all do a super job, and I'm a big fan. I do have a couple questions here, and I've written some notes here. You mentioned the $283,000 in grants that the people had, that you had from different places. Mm-hmm. Is any of that in loan payback to you?
No.
So that is 100% grant. You don't charge any loan payback. Okay, so that's one. You have about $1.78 million in loans out, you said, on properties, and I'm well familiar with that. Most of those are probably older loans from the Howard Evergreen, back when they were getting the rural plumbing grants and
The IPR, which,
Yeah.
we have recycled those many times over, what they've been a boon for us, but He decided not to do IPR anymore because it became so convoluted and complex.
Yep. So the question is, what's the average interest rate on those you charge people?
0.
You're not charging any interest at all on that, so you're just getting the principal back in.
Yes, and we are revisiting that. We are discussing whether we should charge a nominal amount. It wouldn't do,
I mean, at 4%, it would be $71,000 a year,
Yeah.
which would fund some stuff. Problem is,
Yes.
it's hard to put the horse back in the barn when it's already in the next farm over.
Right,
So
right.
it's a little
we were
difficult there.
thinking, they're so low income, the people we serve.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. And I've been there.
But 1 or 2%.
I've partnered with y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
might be more.
Even, you started back with the down payments, just a small portion, and it does give people some ownership, and it gives them some skin in the game before they get started. Oh, I gotta save up $400 before they're gonna come here and get started. So I do understand that. Just a question, and don't be offended by this, because that's not what I try to do at all. You have taken this and you've been expanding your footprint, expanding, and that's really great because you get to touch more people. At what point do you stop expanding and just be content with running the operation in the organization? And that's not a question we answer here today, but that's just a generic question.
I'm glad to answer it, though.
Go ahead.
I think when we are meeting the needs to an acceptable level.
What
where
is that? How do you define that?
Right, that's probably going to be a
That's
moving goal,
ambiguous.
right? It is. But I think when you have a percentage of people who are living really in squalor, it's bringing enough people up to a higher standard of living. And it is subjective.
It is. So you talked about the population growing, and you said it's gotten you more people and more customers and more servicing more than ever. I would propose that those people that you're servicing have been here, and the population growth hasn't really contributed at all to that.
I think it's increased the pressures on those people.
What kind of pressures?
The cost of land, the cost of
Well, but
the cost of
but those
living.
people aren't buying land.
Right.
Those people are sitting on a legacy piece of land. And to get to Mr. McCotter's question, because I looked at a piece, there was a piece in the neighborhood that come up, and it had, I think, it had 27 liens against it. And so you say, can you take this and can you do it, and can you swap a house and do that? The direct answer to your question is yes, you can. But it doesn't always work out like that, because this guy came to me and tried to sell me this lot. He was trying to do something. So my son ran a courthouse search, and there were 27 liens against it. And you never go buy that.
Right,
I mean, it's just not going to happen. Not to mention there were 10 heirs.
yeah.
There were 10 heirs and 27 liens. I mean, it's a menagerie of a mess. And everything that you touch is so individually specific, and it has its own nuances. So one size does not fit all with what you do, and I recognize that.
Yeah.
So it makes a difference.
The land increases, though, I do think affect people very directly because their real estate taxes are going
Well,
up.
but most of those people qualify for the tax abatement.
Right,
Because, and I was shocked. I had an elderly neighbor that's a friend of mine that we helped, and she qualified for her tax abatement, and it made a difference for her.
and I
mean,
think
it
we
was-
can do a better job of making sure people are applying for it.
So, and you talked about your real estate taxes, and I'm gonna float this one out there, and I don't want to offer, nothing for 501c3s, because then next thing you know, I decide I want a 501c3 to do something, and I have a nonprofit, and I'll comply for my tax abatement, and one size doesn't fit all. But I think you are unique, and maybe we could tie something, and I don't know if we can, but maybe we can staff look at, can we tie something to whoever's renting the house on January 1 of the year, make them apply on your behalf at their income level and what their, and the reduced rent that they're paying, and maybe we could offer some pretty substantial tax abatement for something like that. So that's one of my notes here. Let me check them off.
And I think we go in every year and reassess them, so we could give you a compilation of who we have in the homes.
I go back to this administration position, and I understand what that is. So let's bifurcate your administration issue. Your main one is your administration issue on your $1 million grant that you're getting, and administrating at the same time your construction project. Maybe the same person can help do both. Is that what you're thinking?
We are trying to wear as many hats as possible. So it's also just in one person servicing all of the repairs and ramps and rental units. We have one person doing all of that for Louisa County. So we wear many, many hats.
That doesn't seem like an overwhelming task, the repairs, the rentals, and the ramps.
It takes up a lot more time.
Well, I
than you
understand, but
think.
if that was your total job, that doesn't seem like an overwhelming task. I mean, I know y'all got a couple hundred ramps out, 300, is that right?
Probably closer to, well, we've lost track because people have died and not called us, but yeah, it's probably 200.
So a couple, 200-300
Yeah.
ramps, but they don't move very often.
Right.
I mean,
They move pretty, we do about 44 moves a year where we
Yeah,
get
so-
new
so-
ones, we take them down.
so if my job is to track that and keep up with that, if once I get it established, getting it established is the hard part. Where are they all? Where are they located? Putting them on a spreadsheet, managing a move. Hey, this person died. That doesn't seem like a big deal. And then if you have how many rental units you got? 30.
Yeah, 27.
30 rental units, 27 rental units. So managing 30 rental units, 44 ramp moves, and then what was the other thing? The repairs?
Yes.
How many repairs you do in a year?
100. So
Yeah.
I see your point in all those. If
But
all
I
of
mean,
those.
if you couple that one job, is what I'm saying, couple the one job.
Let me interject here for a second. If all of those require one phone call apiece, I think that would be very doable by one person.
You don't.
The problem is we get 10 different repairs. So there are 50 projects underway in Louisa County right now at any given time, just for repairs.
I got a shingle that blew off my house to my toilet doesn't flush, my bathroom
There-
floor rotted out.
We don't do
all
a lot
kinds
of,
of
yeah,
things.
we don't do a lot of the minor stuff. We don't really do any of the minor stuff anymore. We have a threshold where we don't give loans under $300. We will help somebody divide something up, septic tank, pumping, that kind of thing. But walking people through the process is very time consuming, unfortunately, and following up with all the paperwork, and people call and they say, I haven't heard back from anybody yet, and they haven't brought in their paperwork. It's just a segment of the population that takes a lot of hand-holding.
What I'm saying is if with your current staff, you could handle what you're currently doing, not your new construction and not your $1 million grant. That's because your admin position you're looking to add is for the grant and for the new construction. Am I right?
What we need is for the new for the new grant, for the OAHMP,
That's $1 million.
with yes, occupational therapist.
Hold
And
on,
a program
I
manager.
got a note here on that. Hold on that.
Yeah.
But you need an admin person for that, and you need an admin person for your construction project.
Yes.
Could one person do the same job? That's my question.
I had hoped, but the paperwork has been overwhelming.
For which one?
For all of them, I spent all day Friday working on just submitting to get the project stood up. And that's only the initial negotiation with them. I mean, I would love to see them take a match to HUD and just start over.
Well, and that was one of my questions here. Is your $1 million HUD grant subject to cancellation? That's a really interesting question. I mean, they cancel a lot of stuff these days coming out of federal government. They go, we're not doing that.
Right.
Is it subject to cancellation?
It's, as I understand it, and what I have been told, is it's already funds that have been allotted to this programming. So it's already received congressional approval. So same with our SWAT program. They just sent us an email to make sure that, we knew. This was originally ARP funding that came to the state, and the state has the funds. So these are funds that have already, it could happen. Sure, it could happen. You never know these days what could happen. So I just keep saying you truck on ahead as if things are going to stay the same, and if you need to pivot, you pivot. And that's what you do.
On the occupational therapist, does Region 10 have one of those on hand?
It's a good question. I know they provide a lot of services. I can't speak to that directly, but I
Do
can
we have
check.
one at DHS?
Yes, sir.
I wonder if Region 10 would have one and we could couple and partner with them like we pay the,
Counselors at the school.
not the council at the school, but through the CPMT.
Yeah.
We do a lot of times, we do case management.
Right.
We pay a case management fee
Yeah.
to Region 10. So
Yeah,
I'm
good
wondering,
idea.
I wonder if that's an idea here, and I was going to ask about that. It was one of my notes here. Scratch that one off too.
Mr. Chairman, we can look into that, but just coming from my background, that's mental health. Occupational therapy is not mental health. So I don't think Region 10 has one working in the system.
Yeah, I don't
an
know.
occupational therapist. That's more of a physical therapy, occupational therapist to help somebody get back on track physically within their home and opening doors and doing things
So,
of
so
that
the,
nature.
the occupational therapist is for the $1 million grant.
Yeah, and that should be a part-time position. That would not be full-time.
So what's that position a year cost?
So we're anticipating, I have to look at, I think it's $45,000.
That fully funded with benefits and everything?
We don't know, no benefits.
Okay, so it's $45,000 a year. And you have to maintain that person past the term of the grant?
No.
So as soon as the money runs out, you're done?
Yes.
So you gotta have 3 years of that?
Yes.
So that's $135K. And how much is the administration gonna cost?
Probably $50,000 a year.
That's another $150K. So we're gonna have to spend $285 just to administer?
Well,
$1 million,
we
is
will
that
be
right?
funding a portion of that. The Housing Foundation will be funding a portion of it.
Confused, what are you funding?
We self-fund, and once we get our rental units, the new rental units built too, I'd like to decrease our ask if we are able to at that point, and maintain our services. And depending on how long this grant runs, how long the funding lasts.
What's your rental unit build-out construction time period to have them up and rented?
We're phasing it. Every time I give a date, the federal government keeps making it more difficult.
What's your best guess at the soonest?
We're hoping to start construction this summer.
And be done?
I would hope that we'd have all of the units completed in the next year. So by end of next summer.
Okay, so it's going to be one full year before you even get that up and running, is that what you're thinking?
I'm hopeful, but every time I try to move forward, we have to do another environmental assessment or some other, wetlands delineation. We had to purchase, they were threatening that we were gonna have to put a wall up because of the railroad for noise mitigation. So to me, they were just
What do
trading.
they care? They're not living there.
I know.
I
And
mean, I
they're,
got some reasonable questions.
yeah. So
mean-
I think we have circumvented that one, but that one was a little
Yeah.
scary because that would have blown the whole project. It would have been probably $1 million wall.
Yeah.
And it would just trade one problem for another problem because that whole area is wetlands. So now you're compromising the wetlands to build a noise wall.
What, you mentioned you were selling some houses. Was that part of your rental to homeowner transfer? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you've been selling that, you've been taking your houses and selling them to the tenants and,
Yes.
are you selling them at a below market rate?
So what we're doing, we sell them at market rate, but we give them usually 20% in order to have 20% down on it. We divide that up into a forgiven loan. So as they pay their mortgage every month, it buys down by about $250 a month. And then part of it is a deferred loan. So when they either pass away or they move,
sell it, then
part of that fund, comes back.
So you're sitting in a second deed of trust position
Yes.
behind the primary loan?
And that was a model, I know Howard didn't
Howard
invent
used it for years. Yeah,
He
yeah.
sure did.
we're good.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great model.
Sure, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wanted to say, first of all, thank you for, what was it, last Friday? Last Thursday, Friday? Anyway, for the 2 hours that we spent, and some of the things that we talked about in our meeting, Mr. Williams addressed here. So I do think there's some options that the board and the finance committee can explore to, as we look at the total amount that we'll eventually make a recommendation on funding, that probably not ready for discussion. Tax rebate issue is one that we're looking into. I think I mentioned that to you. Your rent, that issue.
Right.
But I do appreciate what you do. We had a very frank and honest and open, as we always do, discussion. But you do really, really important work for the county, and in the county, not for the county, in the county. And you're impacting the people who need it the most. And I think that let us go back to work. I appreciate this presentation you gave today. I'm sorry that we ran over the last time.
I
but-
have a lot of information. It takes a lot of time, so I
No, no,
appreciate your
no,
patience.
No, it's very informative, but I think this presentation has helped the board understand, certainly helped me understand, where we end up, I don't know, but I do think that there's room that we can continue to make some adjustments to get you where you can continue to serve the citizens of the county and expand that footprint. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
I certainly don't want to beat this to death, but I'll be remiss if I didn't just come out on record and talk about if we're going to start with affordable housing, if we can't start here, we won't start anywhere.
I agree.
It's just the bottom line. If we're true to moving forward affordable housing, we have to start here. And so I think Mr. Williams and myself understand a little bit, and I'm not going to beat this there, but I got a constituent that Ms. Highlands is aware of that has a home that he's living in. And I'm telling you right now, we couldn't lean on the wall if we went over there right now. And we've been trying to help him, but we can't get through the errors.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
We can't get through the errors. And I'm telling you now, if you all went with me to this house, you'll say, let's figure we donate some lumber or whatever. It ain't worth living in.
Yeah.
But we don't.
That's all he's got.
That's all they got.
And he can't get nothing else.
Can't get nothing else. It's a single dad trying to raise 3 little girls. And
They're
Miss,
essentially homeless.
they're homeless, living in they're homeless. And so if we can't get anything done with this organization moving forward, it won't happen. So, thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just going to add to what Fitz said. I sit at all of the board meetings and I listen how hard you all are working. Your volunteers that are so dedicated that come, and it's an investment into affordable housing in our community and doing something about it. And we need to step up, I believe, as a board and support affordable housing in our community, especially right now with the way prices are and the times that we're in, and more people find themselves doubling up and living in campers and RVs, just to have a roof over their head. So we need to fund this organization as much as we can.
I'm really proud of the buy-in we have in this community, and Mr. Martin is an example of that, and all the people that have stepped up and take the time and the initiative and use their skills in a variety of ways to serve this community. I'm really proud of what we're doing.
And Kim, I'm proud of you as their leader. You are a phenomenal leader. You have brought this organization together, all of the volunteers. You go above and beyond, and thank you for everything you've done.
Glad to be of service.
The only thing make it better if you move to Louisa.
She's got a pretty nice farm.
This is my adopted county.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim. All right, next, we'll hear a presentation from the Louisa Arts Center, and I see Mrs. Welch is right here.
Good afternoon, supervisors, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for inviting us here today. I'm here with my treasurer, Billy Guilford, most of you will know, is on our board of directors. And obviously I come every so often to see you guys and to talk about everything that we do at the Arts Centre, and I was here only a little while ago. So this time I'm not going to talk about how many shows we've got or what we've got coming up next. Really what I wanted to talk about was a little of the history of what we've done over the last 6 years, very briefly, but really what the Arts Centre is trying to do for itself and what we want to do for the county and the challenges that we face. So this will be a briefer presentation. But for those of you that have been on the board since I came into the Arts Centre 6 years ago, you'll know that I spent my first year really just getting our own house in order financially. There had been some good work done before I got there, but there still was a lot of work to do. That first year only lasted 10 months because I was trying to ensure that we had at least a year's worth of reserves, ready just in case there was any problems or, any emergencies hit or, something had to, if it had to close down. And obviously within 10 months, COVID hit. So luckily we had, within that 10 months, got a year's worth of operating costs in our reserves, and we actually invested those into CDs so that we could actually get a little bit of return on that investment as well. During COVID, you'll know that I pivoted into securing grants where we could, and also rentals in order to survive. And we did come out fighting. We came out ready to serve the people of Louisa again. But the last 3 years, I've presented a balanced budget each year. And basically, the money we've raised, every single penny of that money has gone out into the community to actually, for all the events that we wanted to put on for our community. So what is the Arts Centre doing to help itself, to raise money, to do all the work that we do? Obviously, we're very grateful to the county. The county have been long-time supporters of ours, and the grant that you give us provides about 14% of our income. But obviously, we need to focus on other sources of funding. So the other 86% of our income is focused on ticket sales. That brings in 35%. We have sponsors and donors. They could be individuals, companies, or foundations. That's $105,000, so that's 24%. We have other grants that we secure for 15%, and then we also have rentals, concessions, what we call kind of like the other small amounts, which is 12%. So the Arts Centre does go out every single year on a zero budget on the 1st of July, and we secure 86% of our monies alongside the 14% that we receive from the county. And that's looking at about $430,000 to $450,000 per year. All that money comes in, all that money is then spent out in the community. So we are responsible for managing every single penny, and that's something that I actually stress to all of our staff and anybody that's working with us. Every single penny is given to us, and we have to ensure that we find as many low to no cost solutions. So, for example, we have our Louisa Arts Centre bus. We take that out into the community for free, and we manage to gather supplies from Goodwill or from the Resource Council, some of them at no cost whatsoever. So we try our hardest to ensure that we get what we need at a very reasonable price, if any price at all. We also try to source really good quality shows because we want to make sure that the citizens of Louisa and our surrounding towns and counties, can come to something really special at the Louisa Arts Centre. So we get good quality shows. That means we can maximise ticket sales. And last year I came to tell you that we'd had our record 8 sellout shows in the year. This year I can say after 7 months we've actually already had 8 sellout shows so far. So this year we'll be having more sellout shows. We are actually providing the entertainment that our community are looking for. We're providing good quality entertainment. We also recruit more and more volunteers to support our operations, and currently we have about 6,000 hours per year of volunteers. A lot of that are our board members, who I thank very much because they are very much part of my operational team. I couldn't run it without them. Now, also to be proactive and plan for future expenses, we actually opened a local bank account, to put money away each year for maintenance and repair of assets. As you know, I came last year to ask for an increase in the budget from the county because suddenly I was presented with all the theatre lights need replacing, it's getting dangerous, and the cost of that is about $85,000. So we have raised so much so far, we're still continuing to raise it. But what I don't want in the future is to be blindsided with another expensive cost like that. So every year we're putting money away into this account so that we can then look at our assets and look at when they need to be replaced, when their life is due for replacement or repair. What are we doing to help the county? I come from a business background, and I always believe that you should come into any discussions, and particularly budget discussions, with a win-win attitude. So we are a non-profit, I understand, but I also understand that the money that you give to us, we need to show that we're actually giving something back. So we have, and from my time here over the 6 years, we've increased the number of events, which has increased the number of visitors to our county. 70% of our visitors and our patrons are outside the town of Louisa. and we've had visitors from 24 other states around America. And that's all four corners. So from California right up to the north, right down to the south. This not only helps put Louisa on the map from an entertainment point of view, but also helps to drive revenue for overnight accommodation and for food and beverage taxes. You know, we are aware, we're a non-profit, but we are aware that, you know, we are also responsible for supporting the county and the town and other businesses. So our collaborations with other businesses, we co-promote our shows, our events. Come to Louisa, come and have a dinner and a show, stay overnight, and it's a big plus for marketing and tourism. With other local organisations such as Parks, Recreation and Tourism and our local schools, we also help them to support their goals. And you know, and I've spoken about us going into all the elementary schools to help with the STEAM project and to take arts to every single elementary student. We're actually there this week at Thomas Jefferson. It's been a bit cold this morning, but the kids love it. They're on the bus again. We also collaborate with other performing arts organisations such as the Riverside Centre in Fredericksburg, Charlottesville Ballet. Charlottesville Ballet is now an annual, on our playbill every single year. Not only are they bringing a great play every spring, they have asked us if they can bring the Nutcracker to Louisa this December. Oh, cool. That was my goal when I first contacted them, so I'm really pleased that they're bringing it to us. So we try to bring new forms of arts and entertainment to our citizens. I believe strongly that we are here to introduce our citizens not just to have a good time, but to introduce our children particularly to new forms of arts and entertainment. We also invest in the upgrade and maintenance of parts of the Louisa Arts Centre, which is the town hall that the LAC uses to ensure it's enjoyed by other members and other groups in our community now and in the future. So I feel that's our responsibility, and I feel it's our responsibility to share that with other groups in the community. Obviously, all this does not come without its challenges. As the county grows, there are more organisations who are applying for grants, which is making it more difficult for us to secure them. We saw the previous really great presentation, you know, there are some really great organisations out there that are doing groundbreaking work for people in need. Ours isn't for people in need. We know that. Ours is actually for, you know, people's well-being, to give them a great night out, to come into the centre, close the doors on the world and just enjoy their time. So I do understand, you know, it is in a completely different category. But, you know, we still want to make this successful. We see it as a gem in Louisa County, and we want to continue and make it grow. We have had for some time now a policy of keeping ticket prices under the $50 mark to make it affordable for everybody, or as many people as possible, to come to our shows, but still bring good quality shows and performances. However, this is getting more and more difficult. Last year, the performance fees increased by 20%. Sorry, this year they've increased by 20% on last year. We've increased our ticket prices by 5% on last year. So the disparity is growing and growing, and we are really going to have to review if we can afford to keep it under the $50 threshold. Obviously, we also have a lot of free events and a lot of our family events. If anyone came to Louisa's Got Talent a couple of weeks ago, completely sold out, full of families from Louisa. It was wonderful to see. We charge $5 for a child, $10 for an adult. Because a family of 5, that still is quite a lot of money to pay. So, you know, we do try to keep our prices low. We are obviously limited by the number of seats, because we only have 205, so there's a finite amount of money we can raise through ticket sales. And obviously, we want to introduce our patrons to new forms of arts and entertainment, but some of these, you know, come at a bit of a risk. So we're never going to be sure if we have a sellout, and we have to make sure that we can cover our costs. Now, I'm particularly proud of our mobile arts outreach program with our mobile arts bus, which takes art for free out into the community, and in particular to the underserved areas and the children over the summer times in some of the trailer parks. But costs will increase if we expand this program too. So I believe, and I know a lot of you are very supportive and believe that the Louisa Arts Centre is one of the great tourist attractions of Louisa County, which positively impacts other local businesses, and I would certainly like to see it continue to grow and to contribute to the prosperity of our beautiful county. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Karen, my wife and myself were fortunate enough to come over to a concert a couple of weeks ago. On the Border, is that the
That's
name of the
right,
band?
yeah.
It's an Eagles cover band, probably one of the top 2 or 3 Eagles cover bands in the world. To have them in Louisa is pretty amazing. They're out of Charlotte, so they're not too far away. And if I remember correctly what I was told, we went to the 4:30 show, or I believe it's the afternoon show, which was added on because the 7:30 show sold out so quickly. And then the 4:30 show sold out. So it's just pretty amazing what they're doing over at the Arts Center. The type of things that y'all bring to the community is pretty amazing. So I think it's very important that our citizens be as well-rounded as we can get them. I think that a good, thriving community has that. And y'all certainly play a big role in that here in Louisa County, and appreciate what y'all do. I know it gets more expensive. I know y'all try and have a sponsor, at least one, to help with cover the cost of having these groups come in, or if it's a play, having the folks come in for that, the expenses. And I have certainly found out that you are a very good business lady. So
I drive a hard bargain.
absolutely.
They actually, the Eagles cover band actually asked us if they could come and do a second show, knowing the first was sold out. They asked to come on the Friday evening, and they cost $7,500. It doesn't take much to do the maths on that. You just need to look at 205 seats and times that by $45. It doesn't give us a lot of room to pay tech and all the back office costs. So when they said, could we do another show, I said no initially, which they were surprised about. I said the only thing I would consider would be on the same day because my costs will be less, and a matinee. Which they agreed, and then tried to charge another $6,000, to which I said no. Basically said, if you want to come, we do a split of ticket sales. We will take the risk together. They wanted 80% and us 20%, and I got them down to 65-35. And we actually made more of a profit on that than we did on the evening show. So I'm now in discussion with the board and with our programming managers to go out to these guys and say, look, you might be able to go down to Richmond and have 1,000 seats in a theatre and charge them $7,500, $8,000. We can't afford that, and I don't want to increase the ticket prices. So I'm going in kind of hard-nosed now with, let's just share the gate cost and do a percentage split.
But thanks for what y'all do. And I really do hope that as y'all go to schedule groups next year, that you will include the fantastic Led Zeppelin cover band that I guess was here last year that I didn't get to go see. But I will if I'm still breathing, I will be there next year if you can bring them back.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
awesome.
booked.
Awesome.
Yes. Sorry, this September it's booked.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you looking for corporate sponsors for that? Just throwing that out.
yeah.
Absolutely. We'll be there.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
You.
let's see, Karen, can you tell me, and I should know this, and I think I do, but I just want everybody to understand, what are the most profitable events? Are they the shows?
No.
No.
No, not at all, no. The most profitable events actually are what I call cultural Sundays. So I get lower cost events or lower cost artists to come in, and it's easier to cover those costs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no way of adding more seats to the theater? It's a fire code situation, 205 is the next
It's not our building,
This
for
is a
once.
space- it's a
And yeah,
space.
there's no.
Well, I mean, I've been
Yeah.
there. I mean, people stand up sometimes. I just didn't know whether it's, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously.
I
we're
did
looking
I did meet with Kevin Loudon actually last week, and we were looking out at the back to see whether we could maybe add something on, but there's a lot of utilities. But it's not out of the question, and the board have discussed it before. But yeah, there's the building itself, there's no space in the building.
Well, other revenues, maybe outside the building? Possibilities? I mean, if you're looking for other revenue streams, I know I've heard that you may be looking at other things.
And we have.
Yeah.
The fairgrounds we've used in the summertime. There's a little more risk there because of weather.
Yeah.
But we have that as an option. But to your point, we have 205 seats in the theater. So we are constrained, and that's why sponsors are so important to us for those shows.
Amazing.
But yeah, the fairgrounds work. We've been lucky with weather that they've succeeded, but if we had sold 1,000 tickets for the fairgrounds and we have a big storm come in,
Yeah,
then
that's
that's a
right.
hit. So we're constrained by the theater right now.
How many seats are in the Alan Jackson Theater?
800, around 800, 850. And I do have an agreement with the schools that for the fairground events that's a backstop. So if there's inclement weather for the fairground open air concert, we can use the Alan Jackson Theatre. So that means at least we'll have a concert going on, and we won't lose the performers' fee because they get paid whether they perform or not.
I'm going to
But
follow up, but I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I just read. Go ahead.
No, I just think that you could probably ask for some tourism dollars too. Transient occupancy tax, we talked about that a meeting ago for the Louisiana Historical Society. That would possibly be possible sorts of funding.
Yes, we've applied.
You've applied for a
We have.
$10,000 grant.
We have, that's right. And that is for the fairground events, yeah.
Maybe with the Alan Jackson Theater, is there ever a chance? I just went to Pennsylvania this week to see Riverdance in this cute little theater,
Use your mic.
the American Theater up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I don't think it was much bigger than the Alan Jackson. It was really unique, but it is something that, so it's, having the art center here is important because it's mental health. When you go, you can, like you said, you shut the doors, you're focused on that. You come away, you're tap dancing, you step away from any worry you have. So thank you for what you're doing for our community, because it is important. It might not be about housing and so forth, but it is still very important, I think, to have an organization, a nonprofit like yours in your community. In our community here.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I mean, we've actually had other art centres or theatres contact us for advice and guidance because they're struggling. I mean, I think it was the one in Culpeper was asking how are we so successful, which is a really great compliment. Scottsdale are trying to set something up. They've been over for meetings, so I'm guiding them on the business side of setting up another centre. So yes, we are doing well, and not everybody is, so we're proud of that.
That's interesting.
Mr. Bowden.
I can certainly attest to how hard they work trying to get sponsors for each of these shows. They do a great job, and I don't know how they manage to get so much in sponsorship, but it is definitely an attribute or an asset to the county. And when I look back through these things, you don't have to look very far to find some extra money, I don't think. You got the line right below it that increased $46,391 this year. So I think part of the funding that they're asking for could come out of that.
I had to look to see who the line
You
was.
all know what I
right?
think about the library, so I've been quoted on that bunch, so.
You have anything? I have a couple. Well, first of all, let me tell you how much, not just my granddaughter, but my wife and I enjoyed the Ugly Duckling the
Barter
other
Theater.
night. The Barter Theater play. Mr. Williams was there, and my granddaughter was thrilled that they actually picked her to answer one of the questions, and that was very nice. So I did want to. I made a couple notes. You mentioned the Alan Jackson Theater. Is there an opportunity for you on a consistent basis to utilize that theater for bigger events with the schools? You don't have to answer that now, but if your ticket sales are limited, as they are over there, to 205, and if you have an opportunity to get the band that Mr. Woodward was talking about that would have 800 people, just kind of an out-of-the-box
Show versus two.
Absolutely, yes.
thinking type of thing.
Yeah.
You said that 14% of your funding was from the county. What's your total budget?
That was from last year, or sorry, the current year we're in, it was 432,629, of which the county was 60,000.
Well, I'll give you props because I remember the very first budget session I was at when I came on the board 8 years ago. I think it was in the 30% range that was county funding. So that's a huge move in the right direction, in my opinion. Do you get, and what type of funding or financial support do you get from the town?
We get a very small fund, which I believe the county matches. It's through a community fund we get from the town, but we do then pay the town rent. So we pay more than we get back from the town. But the town obviously are there, to support us and allow us to use the facilities at a very, very cost-effective rate for a lease.
Do they pay your utilities? Do they?
Yes, they pay everything, and we then pay a monthly rent to them.
Okay. You mind me asking how much that is?
Yeah, it's only $1,000 a month, which is very good for the size.
That includes your office space and everything?
It does,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't have anything further. Mr. McCotter asked a question. I know you've applied for a $10,000 grant through the Tourism Advisory Committee. I would encourage you to continue to look at, applying for grants through that. That's exactly the reason with a lot of organizations in the county that the board increased transit occupancy tax from 2% to 7%, 8%, to generate funding like that. So that's something that we can look into as we go back to our budget as to where we can tap buckets of money. So thank you all for coming today.
That's great, thank you. May I just ask one question, just really from, you may not be able to answer this long term, but where do you see the county financially supporting 501c3s going forward? Are you, do you still see them being supported, or do you feel that most of us should try to be completely self-sufficient? It's a very generalized question, but I just wondered really what you're thinking of about going forward.
Well, Mr. Williams is twisting his hand here, so.
I'll answer my opinion on that. It would be my goal that that 501Cs in general would become less and less dependent on the county and seek to find funding. I mean, it's easy to go back to what I call the low-hanging fruit, and sometimes I feel like the county here is the low-hanging fruit. Let me just go back and see if I can ask them. Not that it's not important. We made a commitment 7 or 8 years ago, and really just decided that if we weren't going to fund it at a $50,000 or $60,000 rate, we weren't going to have an art center. That's before your time, but I mean that was a decision the board at that time made, and it was pretty black and white like that. I mean it wasn't any gray areas in there. If we didn't get the funding and county didn't fund it, that it was not going to happen. So I think that's why we've flat funded you for so long. We've hopeful that we could get you to self-provide and figure it out. And I mean, just a simple, and you're a great business lady, I've been told, but simple Alan Jackson Theater, 2 shows, go to 1 show, and take all the extra ticket money, make them play 1 show in a bigger venue. I mean, it's, and I know the schools, seems like the schools work with you. They're very easy to work with down there.
They
so.
do, yes. And there's a slight caveat to that. Obviously,
What's that?
people come in the evenings to come to a show.
Can't have beer.
Can't have any beer. I don't know. It's not the overriding factor, but it does play a part, and we do get revenue
do
obviously
any of
through
that.
our concessions.
So what was, just curious, I mean, at the sold-out show, what were the total liquor, alcohol profits from that? Just guess.
You're only talking $2,000 to $3,000. It's
Yeah.
not big money.
So that would have made up
Something.
far in advance of having sold 410 seats in 1 show and not having to pay them 65% of your second door.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is worth. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to, I'm just saying, the goal would be for the 501c3s, my vision would be, and we've been working on them a little bit at a time. We've stopped people from getting on the list.
Yeah.
People have tried to come on and get on the list over the years. They have great causes, but once you get them on, it's like you got to wean them at some point in time. You don't take it the wrong way, but that's
No,
my
not at
opinion
all.
of the more we can get off and become self-sufficient and get you self-sufficient on your own, then you can take tax dollars and do other things with them. And you're not a lot of tax dollars. Don't misunderstand me. So it's not really about the quantity of the money. It's more about the principle behind it in my mind.
Okay, that's great. Well, that's good to know because obviously we need to plan for the future and we need to know where your thoughts are.
And I'm just one. It takes four to dance up here.
I'm going to give you mine. I always want to see outside agencies become more efficient and self-sufficient. But some things are like some departments that the county has that are never going to be revenue generating, right? But they're a quality of life issue for the county. I think the Arts Center, and I'll be very frank, we have been far more engaged with the Arts Center as a family at our house since we had a granddaughter who we go a lot. I always know when the art bus goes to Trevelyan's. So, do I think you'll ever be fully self-supporting? Probably not. But when I look at, and I use you all as an example all the time, that when you've gone from 30-some% of your budget was county funding to 14, I wrote it down when you said it, 14%. That's what I want to see. I want to see that you're not 100% or so dependent on the taxpayers' money, because I think you have such a great story to tell that you can voluntarily get far more money from the people of Louisa County because you provide great programming than for us to reach into their pocket and hand them to you.
Yes.
Just like the show the other night. I don't know if it was quite sold out, but it was pretty close. And it was great. It was wonderful. A lot of kids there, a lot of young people. So, is that the goal to strive for? In my opinion, yes. Do I think you'll probably get there? Probably not. Do I think it's a quality of life issue for the county? Absolutely. I think the Arts Center brings something that if it was gone, the void in the county would be felt far and wide. From the very young to the very old. So
he pointed at me when he said young.
I was actually going. I did, but so anyway, that's my thought.
Thank you. And I would say as well, and I know I appreciate particularly yourself, Mr. Adams, and your support for me as leading this organisation. And I think I've said before, if you need any help, if there's any other organisations that would like any help, because 501c3s do not attract business people ordinarily. It suits me, I really enjoy it, and I love a challenge. If there are other people that are running organisations that maybe need that support, and then I'm more than happy to deliver that as well. I'm more than happy to talk to people and help them with their budgeting or whatever.
Maybe
whatever
that's another funding source, your expertise on
consultant.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Real quick, anybody that sits here that doesn't see a way forward on requesting a funding grant may be swayed by 30 or so letters from people who are just as passionate about what the Louisa Arts Center brings to the community as you two are, and many of us are. Something to consider.
And if I could just add on to Mr. Adams' comments.
Used to Mike so that it's
Certainly.
recorded forever and ever.
I just want to add on, I'm technically here for moral support, but I am on the board, and I am a volunteer board member. I am the treasurer. I've been supporting the Arts Center since it began in 2004, really when we kicked it off the ground. They've had their ups and downs. Karen came on board, and I was thrilled to see somebody with a business sense who knew what she needed to do with this organization and what she needed to do for the county of Louisa. She is always looking, when we are planning, what is best for us and what is best for the county. She is the one who has brought in new ideas on our cultural Sundays with ballet and opera and Shakespeare. And when we brought those up initially, people would say, that's not going to fly in Louisa County. We've sold out those shows. So I just want to let you know, we are always focused on running a great business. Karen does that. We're also focused on what we are doing for the county. And when we look at the funds that we get from the county, it's a balancing act. You're helping us, so we are helping you too. So that's my little piece. And again, I'm here for moral support.
Thank you. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Ms. Welch. Thank you. Ms. Colbert?
Have a lot to think about, so there's two that I just wanted to bring up.
Ms.
And I
Coleman.
think y'all are in support, but I wanted to verify.
Yeah.
Java was one that y'all spoke with before, and I know y'all were talking about approving theirs at $292,566. was the same amount the Finance Committee
You were the
recommended,
warrant.
but
Let's see that.
Mr.
You
Woodward
couldn't-
asked that we wait, so I wanted to see if y'all were good with going forward with our ask, okay? And then Historical Society, the Finance Committee had originally recommended 10,000, but we looked at our last Finance Committee meeting, the transit occupancy tax revenues like y'all had suggested, and they are recommending for the visitor center portion of their request, the 13,260, raising their ask with 10,000 being from general fund, and then they can apply for the grant funding for the 13,260, making their request. They're recommending 23,260 if the board so chooses to look at that, or you can think about it, but it was just information.
Is that a change from the other week when they were here?
It is. The 13,215 would be a grant from the TOT money. The 10,000 would come from general funds,
I just had an epiphany.
and it's,
Oh, my Lord.
it's for the Welcome Center.
Okay, but I mean, these numbers are different than when
Yes.
Vernon and when they were here.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an increase.
The increase.
And this is a grant from the meals tax, or
13,215 would be, yes.
Okay.
13,260 when I looked it up.
What is it?
13,260 was the
Oh,
portion
60.
for the
I said-
visitor
I'm sorry,
center.
I
I looked
said,
it up because y'all asked me
60.
to. For that portion of it.
Yeah.
Now, their full ask was 39,600, but the recommendation is to do the 23,260 with part being from that tourism grant funds and part from general fund.
So I'm trying to make sure I understand this. Is that, they have to apply for that grant, or is it something, we're saying there's funds in that?
There's money in that fund. Right now, it's a grant program that they would apply for, but you were the ones who approved that. So it would come to you guys to approve it at that route, if you also choose to do that. For 26, when the 26 funding.
No, I got a different question. Mr. County Administrator,
Sir.
we're gonna have some revenue from, building permits from AWS. What if community development hired like an inspector type person, and that inspector type person could help the Housing Foundation with like their building type projects and administering some of their grants and maybe even some of the repairs and stuff that go on in the county? I mean, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but maybe you could shift some administration stuff around and do that. I know that those funds have to be done with something like that, but I mean, it's the community development, it's community thing, managing. If you have 100 projects a year, 100 small repair projects a year, something like that, what if we hired the person here and gave them access to it and pulled in as part of the duties and helped them and didn't send them money, but helped them do that here with our employee here in-house?
I understand what you're saying. Can I
You
consider that?
can think about that.
I'm sorry.
You can think about that.
I was just getting ready to ask. Can I think about that and consider
Yeah,
that a
it's
little
just
bit?
I'm just trying to find creative ways to solve problems, and
I don't want to get on I don't want to give you a quick answer and put
I'm
everybody
not
on a
asking for
slippery
one
slope.
today. It's something to work on, think about.
Yeah, fair point.
You got your question answered about?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that there's a possibility that, I mean, that's not some government grant that they're applying for and may or may not.
Well, it is,
get.
it's your
Well, it is,
government.
but it's your government. These 7 people are going to vote on whether that grant gets awarded.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
not for today, I don't be today,
thank
but I'm
you.
not comfortable with our TOT. I think we can do better with it and be more creative with our TOT funding, as far as some capital projects and things like that. I think I expressed to you, there are some localities that have used AI to track the value of the TOT spending when people come in localities, where they eat, where they stay. I just like to have a presentation, because here's what I don't want it to do, to be a situation where we got every organization in the world think that that's a place to apply for money.
Right. Before we move on from that, I think we're ready to vote at least on one of these, Mr. Woodward, and that would be Java. You're the one that asked for them to come back. Are you-
Can we do
okay
two?
with that?
Can't we do the Historical Society too?
Well, they got to apply for a grant.
Well, I mean, you still got to,
Java at 292,566.
Yeah,
it's still not approved at Historical Society, right?
no, we haven't.
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by
What-
saying aye.
Aye.
Java.
Job.
Job,
All right, motion passed unanimously. Now you have a question about this.
How about the Historical Society? Can't we go and check that one off?
We can, as long as we're going to encourage them to apply for that grant.
Well, if
Which
they want,
grant
if they
was
want
that?
$13,000, we'll have to go get it.
TOT.
I thought that,
So the money is ours. Right now, the process is we have an online form, and they would complete that, and they could put that they want to put it towards their visitor center,
Staffing their visitor center.
staffing their visitor center, the information they put in their
Yep,
ask
yep.
here.
Is it a
And-
deadline with that Wanda? The
Oh,
grant?
no, it's ongoing with the
ongoing.
money. It's
Okay.
ongoing.
when will we know whether they get that grant or not?
When you vote on it, you're voting.
It comes to the board.
It goes through the committee.
Kimmy
So
makes
the
a
grant's
recommendation,
coming-
y'all make the decision.
But they
I mean, I
need,
can put it in the budget that it's coming from that funding, which is what I've
need to
kind of
go- they
done,
need
but
to-
it
they
should
need
go
to
through the process.
just like
Okay.
everybody else.
Just because there's a committee, and then it would come to y'all, and y'all would vote on it, and it could be done. Like, if they put in their request, they would like it for 26, there's no reason I don't think of, without talking to Cindy, they couldn't go ahead and put it in.
Okay.
And then say it's for fiscal year 26, and go ahead and get it through their committee and through here.
Well, when it comes back, I'm just gonna put that out there. I can support the visitor center piece, but I want you all to understand now, we've been down this road before in Louisa. We had a visitor center at Zion's Crossroads in the Best Western Hotel, and the board elected not to fund it anymore. I just like to know, regardless, make sure we got accurate numbers on the visitation. You can set it up where you know who stopped by, where they stopped on the way. That one at Zion Crossroad, people were stopping back going to Monticello, James Monroe, and all that, and we got the data. But I'm just letting you know that's been done. I'm not against it, but I just want to know how we track it.
Mr. Chairman, do you think, though, that when that visitor center, I wasn't, you were on the board then, was because of the proximity, because people were coming off of 64, it was a Flavanna, Louisa, it was a joint effort for a visitor center there, and so they were passing through, but maybe if they're coming into town here, they're more specifically coming to Louisa for something.
And we can look at it both ways, but the reason they did that was because people were more apt to come off the interstate to do a visit versus coming into the town to do a visitor center, because most of them was on their way to Monticello.
I see what you're saying, but I do think we'll be having more people in the near future coming into the town of Louisa for things that the town is working on.
And I'm not opposed, so I just make sure
It's a
we
good
track
point.
it.
No, it's a good point. Yes, ma'am.
And this is for 1 year. The grant's for 1 year.
They-
So they would
they
have to reapply,
reapply.
and if it
And
doesn't
what's the
work,
amount?
the amount would be 13,260 of the 23.
that they're already, yeah, it's a 10.
What else should have stopped there? It was-
Chairman? Addressing
suggesting giving
Mr.
them
Barnes's comments, I think that about the visitor
Hold on,
center.
hold on, hold on.
Gotcha.
Hold on. Too much side language going on. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, side language, please. So the visitor center, Fitz, I think that your notion of being creative with funding is important. So we can ask the visitor center if they're going to get that TOT money to do what we suggest. Let's be creative with what you're doing. Let's learn from what we took out of the Zion's Crossroads situation and make it better. And maybe do some other ways of attracting visitors as well as imparting information to them.
Well, like you said, you got 1 year to store it, tell itself.
There you go, 1 year.
Isn't that funding for somebody to, I mean, what did they request?
Staffing. It's for staffing.
Staffing for
The visitor
the
center.
visitor center. So I think that says it. The main thing is
So-
making sure they know to apply for it.
I move we approve the $10,000 and ask them to apply for the grant, 13,260.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed
One more thing,
unanimously.
real quick.
All right,
Bottom of the sheet. $2.4 million still short. We're still working. Just want to let you know. The cake's not fully baked, but we're working on it.
Thank you.
Need some help finding some more?
Yeah, you got some?
all right, do we have a closed session agenda? Oh, right there. Or not agenda.
The
motion.
Starbucks, I mean, the library?
I don't know why somebody put all these plats here.
You know, if you need
on
some
it.
help.
It's
Oh,
This is
read
a
this.
parcel that the county has
Read
owned
it.
and Parks and Rec
Yes, sir.
has not developed, they just haven't wanted it. They haven't gotten the funds.
You're right.
I move we convene in closed session pursuant to the following subsection of Virginia Code, Section 2.2, 3711. One, in accordance with Section 2.2, 3711A5, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry in the Mountain Road District where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community. And item 2, in accordance with Section 2.2, 3711A7, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff members or consultants pertaining to the actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiation or litigating posture of the public body. And item 3, in accordance with Section 2.2, 3711A8, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel.
Do a second?
Second.
Been properly moved and second, we go into closed session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We're in closed session.